Have you ever felt the vibrant canvas of your world slowly drain to grey, not from a lack of light, but because your own mind started seeing and feeling too much? It's a place where clarity becomes a crushing weight and your consciousness a quiet curse. It's a place where every word spoken to you is meticulously scanned, every fleeting glance dissected until the very air around you thins. Even your own breath starts to feel like a calculated act, a conscious decision rather than an effortless reflex. You see so much, feel so much, that the world, once a vibrant, expansive canvas, transforms into a dizzying mosaic of overwhelming details. Each tiny facet demands your conscious attention, each a potential trap for overthinking. This relentless analysis can turn simple interactions into complex puzzles, leaving you exhausted and isolated, constantly battling the overwhelming tide of your own heightened awareness. You cling to the belief that awareness is power, don't you? That by knowing every angle, dissecting every nuance, predicting every potential outcome, you'll somehow build an impenetrable shield against life's inherent chaos. You convince yourself that this vigilance is a form of control, a safeguard against missteps and disappointments. But what if this isn't strength at all? What if instead it's a conscious curse? You're not merely aware, you're hyper-aware, an unceasing, relentless observer of your own existence. You watch yourself live, breathing, speaking, moving, as if from a detached vantage point. Your own being, your very fleeting presence in this vast, indifferent universe, becomes the object of constant scrutiny. This isn't mindful living. It's an isolating performance where you are both the actor and the most critical audience. This relentless introspection doesn't protect you, it gnaws at your very spontaneity. Imagine a laugh that feels rehearsed, not because you planned it, but because you're simultaneously monitoring its sound, its sincerity, its reception. Every genuine impulse is filtered through a prism of analysis, losing its vibrant color and immediate joy. Decisions become an endless loop of what-ifs, each possibility branching into countless anxious scenarios. Should I speak up? What if I'm misunderstood? What if I fail? The simplest choice can paralyze you, transforming moments of potential into agonizing stalemates. You find yourself adrift in a turbulent sea of your own thoughts, tossed by currents of analysis and eddies of self-doubt. The solid ground of authentic experience seems to recede, replaced by an abstract ocean of rumination. And what anchors you in this endless mental expanse? Often, it's only the terrifying possibility of meaninglessness. If every action is scrutinized, every emotion dissected, and every outcome endlessly speculated upon, where is the genuine purpose? Where is the unburdened joy of simply being? This awakening reveals not power, but a profound and exhausting struggle within the confines of your own mind. It's a realization that the very tool you believed would set you free has, in fact, built your most formidable prison. Friedrich Nietzsche's profound warning echoes with chilling relevance here. When you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. Your intense awareness, once a precise tool for understanding and navigating the world, has itself transformed into such an abyss. You've plunged so deeply into the intricate depths of your own subjective experience that the shared reality, the simple, tangible world that most people accept without question, begins to dissolve around you. The constant internal dialogue gnaws at the very fabric of objectivity. You're left asking, is anything truly objective when your perception is the ultimate and inescapable filter? Every conversation, every interaction, every piece of information is funneled through your hyper-analytical mind, distorted by your own biases, anxieties, and predispositions. You question everything, dissecting motivations, deconstructing intentions, until even your own identity feels like a fragile construct, a meticulously crafted role you're playing for an unseen, demanding audience. The authenticity you crave becomes elusive, replaced by a performance you constantly monitor. In this relentless cycle, you might delude yourself into believing you're gaining control, that understanding every angle and predicting every outcome, you're mastering your existence. But the bitter truth is, you're actually losing ground. The very act of constantly watching yourself, of being perpetually self-aware, makes authentic engagement with life utterly impossible. You're not truly living the moment, you're observing yourself live it. There's a critical distance, a mental pane of glass separating you from genuine experience. This resistance to simply being in the moment stems from a deep-seated fear, a fear of the unknown, of vulnerability, of not being perfectly prepared. You build mental fortresses of analysis, but these walls, instead of protecting you, trap you within your own mind. The world outside becomes a distant, muted scene, experienced secondhand through the lens of your perpetual internal commentary. This reframe reveals the paradox. In striving for ultimate control through awareness, you inadvertently surrender to a state of perpetual observation, detached and isolated from the very life you're trying so desperately to master. What if the escape from this conscious curse, this relentless observation and analysis of your own existence, isn't found in more knowing, but in less? For so long you've believed that more information, more foresight, more understanding would be your salvation. But this path has only led you deeper into the abyss of your own perception. What if true freedom, true liberation from this self-imposed prison, lies in the courage to close your eyes, even for a fleeting moment, to the ceaseless parade of self-reflection? This isn't about advocating for ignorance or a naive disregard for reality. Far from it. This is about making a profound choice to inhabit your being rather than merely observe it. It's an invitation to step out of the audience and back onto the stage of your own life, not as a performer meticulously critiquing every move, but as an active participant, fully immersed in the experience. Imagine feeling the warmth of the sun without dissecting its molecular structure, or tasting your food without analyzing its every ingredient and the socio-economic implications of its origin. This is about reclaiming the direct, unfiltered sensation of living. The very silence you dread, the void you desperately try to fill with more thought, more data, more analysis, is precisely where your reclamation truly begins. It's in those moments when the internal monologue quietens, when the analytical mind takes a brief, much-needed respite, that genuine connection becomes possible. This quiet space isn't empty, it's pregnant with potential, a fertile ground for authenticity that your hyper-awareness has inadvertently stifled. And in that quiet space, that pause from the perpetual self-surveillance, we'll do something truly vital. We'll carefully, gently uncover the deepest fear that drives this relentless awareness. Because beneath the layers of overthinking and control lies a core vulnerability, a fundamental apprehension that fuels this exhausting cycle. By daring to withdraw, by embracing a temporary, deliberate less knowing, you open the door to a deeper understanding, not of the external world, but of the internal landscape that has held you captive. This is your break from the constant performance, your first step towards genuine presence. Your hyper-awareness isn't merely an intellectual habit or a quirky personality trait. It's a profound and often desperate shield, a meticulous defense mechanism designed to control an inherently uncontrollable world. Think of it as an invisible armor forged from constant vigilance that you wear to navigate life. At its core, this pervasive need to analyze and anticipate stems from a deeper, more primal place. The fear of the unknown, the terrifying vulnerability of simply being. It's the unsettling thought that without this vigilant, exhaustive monitoring, you might truly disappear, become irrelevant, or worse, be utterly overwhelmed by life's unpredictable currents. Carl Jung, the renowned psychiatrist, spoke extensively of the shadow, those unacknowledged, repressed, or disowned parts of ourselves. For someone like you, burdened by hyper-awareness, the shadow might not be traditionally dark traits, but rather the very opposite, the raw, untamed self that simply is, without needing constant explanation, justification, or intellectualization. It's the spontaneous laugh, the uncalculated risk, the messy, imperfect human experience that your analytical mind struggles to contain or categorize. This untamed self feels dangerous precisely because it defies the control you desperately seek. You're constantly striving to predict, to anticipate every possible outcome, every potential interaction, because deep down, you're terrified of being caught off guard. You dread the sting of being hurt by something you didn't see coming, the vulnerability of an unpredicted emotional blow. This exhausting cycle of overthinking, this intense observation of every detail, both external and internal, isn't truly about the world around you. It's a complex, sophisticated mechanism for avoidance. Ultimately, this hypervigilance, this pervasive need for control through awareness, is about the echo of an old wound inside you. It's a response to past experiences where perhaps you felt powerless, misunderstood, or unprepared. The shadow you need to unmask isn't a monster, but rather the vulnerable, authentic self you've been protecting so fiercely at the cost of genuine engagement and peace. Recognizing this deeper fear is the vital step towards dismantling the shield and stepping into a more liberated way of being. The most insidious illusion you've clung to is the belief that more awareness protects you. You've been operating under the assumption that if you just gather enough information, foresee enough pitfalls, and analyze enough angles, you can somehow inoculate yourself against life's inherent uncertainties and pain. But the stark truth, the uncomfortable reality, is that this very quest for absolute awareness can, and often does, imprison you. It builds walls of thought around your present moment, separating you from genuine experience. True power isn't found in preventing every potential fall, every stumble, every unexpected blow. That's an impossible, exhausting, and ultimately futile endeavor. Instead, true power lies in knowing you can stand back up after a fall. It's the quiet confidence in your resilience, your adaptability, and your inherent capacity to navigate whatever comes your way, even if you couldn't predict it. This fundamental shift in perspective is liberating. To truly break free from the shackles of hyper-awareness, you must undertake a profound act. Surrender the need to know everything, to control every outcome. This isn't weakness, it's a profound act of trust in life itself, and perhaps even more importantly, a trust in your own capacity to handle what unfolds. It's about relinquishing the burden of being the omniscient narrator of your own existence and allowing life to simply be. This surrender means letting the world be without your constant commentary. It means experiencing a moment without immediately analyzing its significance, its flaws, or its implications. It's about seeing a sunset and simply appreciating its beauty rather than dissecting the atmospheric conditions or comparing it to previous sunsets. And just as crucially, it's about letting yourself be without your relentless self-critique. Imagine a moment where you act, speak, or simply exist without an immediate internal review board dissecting every nuance. Can you face the terrifying freedom of not having all the answers, of not being perfectly prepared, of simply existing in the moment without the constant hum of your analytical mind? This surrender isn't an abandonment of responsibility, but an embrace of a deeper, more peaceful way of engaging with life, one where presence outweighs prediction and authentic living replaces perpetual observation. When you finally manage to release the tenacious grip of excessive awareness, a profound transformation occurs. You don't become less, you paradoxically become more. This isn't a reduction of your intellect or a diminishing of your perception. Instead, it's a magnificent reclaiming of lost parts of yourself. You reclaim your inherent spontaneity, that vibrant capacity for uninhibited action and reaction that was long stifled by relentless self-scrutiny. You rediscover your authentic capacity for genuine joy, a joy that isn't instantly dissected and questioned, but simply felt deeply and purely. Most importantly, you regain your ability to truly connect with others, with nature, and with your own inner landscape, all without the analysis and judgment. The outside world, with all its inherent complexities and uncertainties, doesn't suddenly become less intricate. Its challenges and nuances remain. However, your relationship to it transforms fundamentally. You shift from being a detached, anxious observer to an engaged, vibrant participant, no longer a prisoner of your own mind, constantly monitoring and dissecting every input. You emerge as a free spirit, moving through life with a newfound lightness and presence. You can experience moments as they unfold, rather than just analyzing them in retrospect or anticipation. This process of integration isn't about dulling your senses or becoming oblivious to reality. Quite the opposite. It's about sharpening your presence. It allows you to perceive more clearly, not by thinking more, but by feeling more, by being more. When the constant internal chatter subsides, your actual senses become more attuned to the richness of life. You hear the birds, feel the breeze, truly see the expressions on faces, all without the distorting lens of overthinking. This rebirth solidifies a vital truth. You are not your thoughts. You are not your endless analysis, your predictions, or your self-critiques. These are merely mental activities, tools that, when misused, can become masters. You are what remains, whole and complete, when the desperate need to constantly know, to control, and to analyze every single facet of existence finally fades. This is the emergence of your authentic self, liberated and alive. This profound path of inner rebellion, this conscious act of stepping back from the precarious ledge of hyper-awareness, can indeed feel profoundly lonely. As you begin to shed the layers of constant analysis and self-observation, many around you simply won't understand. They might question why you suddenly crave silence, why you choose to simply be rather than endlessly do or think. The world often rewards constant engagement, busyness, and outwardly demonstrable productivity. Your journey inwards, by contrast, might appear inactive, perhaps even perplexing to those accustomed to your former vigilance. But it's crucial to understand, this solitude isn't a punishment. It's a sanctuary. It is a sacred space, essential for healing and integration after the intense fire of confronting your hyper-awareness. This is where you solidify your newfound inner freedom, where you truly gather and integrate the scattered pieces of yourself that were dispersed and fragmented by the relentless winds of overthinking. In this quiet, unobserved space, you cease the performance, you drop the shield, and you allow your true self to emerge without judgment or expectation. When you deliberately stop performing for external validation, when you cease the exhaustive internal dissection of your every move, word, and thought, you become profoundly available to the deepest, most authentic parts of yourself. These are the parts that were perhaps silenced, overshadowed, or deemed unproductive by the relentless analytical mind. It's in this unburdened quiet that your intuition, your genuine desires, and your inherent wisdom can finally surface without interference. This is where you begin to hear the quiet whispers of your soul, undistorted by the clamor of a hyperactive mind. This solitude is not an end in itself, but a vital crucible for growth. It's where your resilience is tested and strengthened, where your true values clarify, and where the mastery of self truly begins. It's a deliberate choice to prioritize your inner landscape over external demands, to cultivate a relationship with yourself that is profound, honest, and ultimately deeply empowering. Remember this fundamental truth. You have always been here, whole and complete, patiently waiting beneath the dense layers of overthinking, beneath the weight of what we've called the conscious curse. The true danger wasn't in your inherent capacity for awareness itself, that profound ability to perceive and understand, but rather in what you allowed that awareness to become, how you let it twist into a tool for self-imprisonment and endless analysis. Now, after journeying through the depths of this internal struggle, you hold the key. It's not a magical artifact, but the simple, profound understanding that you have the power to choose how you engage with your own mind. you can step out of the constant observation and into genuine participation in your own life. If this message resonated with the quiet whispers of your own soul, if you recognize this struggle and feel the pull towards liberation, then we invite you to acknowledge that choice. In the comments below, declare your intention. I choose presence. The next video in this series will guide you through the first crucial practical steps of this liberation, offering actionable ways to begin this transformative shift. You face the truth, understood the illusion, and you are absolutely ready for it.